What's up, everybody? Welcome. Another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on Rotogrinders. Happy to be with you talking golf. Another week of PGA DFS. I am Justin Van Zuiden, STL Cardinals 84. Didn't take down anything major, but had my best DFS golf week in probably good 3 or 4 months last week. So it's got me recharged and ready to go for this week. Always good to have a profitable week. And got my usual co-host alongside me to discuss this week's golf as well. That's Mr. Derek Farnsworth, aka Notorious. Was out last week. And Noto, were you at the conference there in Vegas last week?
Yeah, I was at the conference, and I definitely paid for it. It sounds like you had a really good week. I didn't cash one single cent back. I think that's the first time ever. I played Everyday Showdown. I played the main slate. I played it all. And Andrew Sable in the chat saying, "Yeah, nice change of pace." This week not having a cut because all my guys got cut last week. So good to be back, ready to get back at it and ready for a clean slate. That's for sure.
I think the 6-6 percentage was about 1.2% across most of the contests last week. I did 150 lineups and I had 6. So I had like 4%, 6 of 6s. So I had some live lineups in the lower dollar stuff too, but finished, one finished like 30th or 40th or something. But with the top heavy payouts, that doesn't get you a whole lot, but was in the vicinity of a really good week and hopefully can keep that going. And yeah, like you mentioned, we've got a no cut event this week. And, the one thing that Hondizel and I talked about last week was, don't be afraid to do something a little bit weird with your lineups to take some off the radar plays, because last week was the type of event that, it's a shootout. You see guys going 22, 23, 24 under par, and that's kind of the great equalizer. And that's what we saw a lot of the popular plays, a lot of the high end plays miss the cut. And we saw, some kind of random names up at the top of the leaderboard for a couple of days. So that's just the type of event where sometimes the randomness, sometimes you have a complete dud, and sometimes you land on the right guys, and it'll be interesting to see, how that translates to this week. And we'll get to this week's course in a minute, but plenty of time with a limited field and no cut this week. So it won't take us too long to get through it. But I know you were kind of probably not paying as close of attention last week since your lineups were kind of dead, but any takeaways from the tournament for you?
Yeah, I didn't get to watch much on Sunday. I was traveling home, but good to see Sungjae win. I mean, that's a great final round. And we've always kind of thought of him as a Bermuda specialist, a guy that plays well in the wind, guy that plays well on par 70 courses and then, tougher courses. And he comes out, shoots 24 under, I think. So good to see him get a win under the belt, his second of his career. And I went and looked it up. The last time he won, he followed it up with the third the next week. So he may be one of the few guys that we don't have to, immediately fade the week after a win. So happy for Sungjae. Everyone else, not so happy for, since they didn't help me out at all.
We know that Sungjae Im is not going to let up. That's not his nature. He's going to keep on, go out there and play the next week. So impressive round on Sunday. I could have used a different week for him to choose to have that round, but I had him on some lineups, but not on my best. So Wolf was on my best lineup and Shank was on my best lineup, and they were the final pairing on Sunday. Not that they played terribly, but I mean, it was just, if you weren't making a ton of birdies, you were falling down the leaderboard. And Sungjae 62 on Sunday, Leishman 63, that brought him into the top 5. Rory Sabatini had a 64. He had a solid week, finished tied for third. But I mean, some of these other names inside the top 10, Adam Hadwin showing up for the first time in a long time. Hayden Buckley, another strong week. Harry Hall, these are the type of guys that you embrace the variance in that event. And some of you, if you had some of those guys, it was probably a pretty good week for you. And if you had, a lot of the chalk that missed the cut, that probably left a sour taste in your mouth. But just the strange nature of that event and that shootout where the cut, is 4, 5, 600 par. Makes it a little bit tougher to handicap. So how was Vegas, by the way?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was out there with Dan and Cal and Scott and Dave. So always good when you have good people around you. And obviously Vegas, a lot of fun that you can get into. But I did remember to, join contests beforehand. So I was able to lose a lot of money in PGA DFS. So I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, it's you'd be half joking there that if you would have won money, it'd been a little better. But yeah, I respect the hustle, the grind for the people that, because you can't play DFS in Nevada, so that drive to the border to register contests every night and grinding the NFL showdowns, the Thursday night showdowns and stuff like that. I wouldn't have that gumption. I'd just take the nights off. But kudos to those that did, and somebody might have won a big prize by virtue of doing it. But
yeah, and I signed up for BetMGM in Nevada, so now I can drive to the border and bet instead of so kind of the opposite of what they can do.
So you are in Utah.
Yeah.
So where can you? Is Nevada the only state nearby? That is there other mobile sports betting states?
Somebody told me Wyoming as well. They're both about an hour and a half from me.
Oh, okay.
So it's not great, but when I want to make bets, I at least have the option now.
Do multiple things at once. So you can do some futures and stuff like that too
Yeah.
when you're on the road. But all right, well, let's start taking a look at this week. We've got the CJ Cup, one of the events that used to kick off the Asian swing, but of course, COVID has thrown a bit of a wrench into that. They couldn't get back to South Korea this year, so for the second straight year, the CJ Cup will be contested in the States, and it was at Shadow Creek in Vegas last year, and this year it will be held at Summit Club. So that will be the host course just for this year. So be sure to wipe out any course history, ignore it, don't look at it. I suppose you can make some parallels to last week. Shadow Creek is a reasonably good comp course for this week's venue, but what have you learned about Summit Club in the few days that we've had to take a look at it here?
Yeah, so right off the bat, I mean, the course looks awesome. A lot of fairway, a lot of bunkers, and a lot of desert. I do think it'll play a little bit different than Shadow Creek. That was it didn't look like it was in the desert at all. I mean, that was
there was a lot of water on that course.
Yeah, Carolina course is kind of what Tiger Woods called it. But yeah, this definitely desert track. The fairways here, it looks pretty generous off the tee. I looked up the acreage of fairways to rough, and there's twice as much fairway as rough. So it's going to be pretty easy off the tee. But if you do get too wild, you'll probably be in the desert area, in the native area, as Shot Tracker likes to call it. 4 par 5s, so I do think it's going to be scoreable. This is a resort course. A lot of famous people are members here. Is kind of the really hard place to get into. So I do think it's going to be pretty easy. I think everyone in the expert survey put at least 20 under par for their predictive winning score. And I don't think it's going to play that long. It is 7,400 yards, but the elevation changes that a little bit. And then Colin Morikawa in his interview today, yes, he's a member. He said the key this week is to hit the right portions of the green. He said, if you miss it just by a little bit, it'll roll 40 to 50 feet away from the pin. And so I think, having that knowledge and knowing where to miss, knowing the greens and just being able to get on the right, tier of the greens is going to be important. So definitely looking at strokes gained approach. I think you are going to have to make a ton of birdies. I don't know what to do off the tee. I mean, it certainly helps to gain strokes there, but I'm not sure if it's going to play as a bomber's track. I'm not sure if it's just going to kind of neutralize the field a little bit off the tee. And then it is a Tom Fazio design. So if you want to look at some comps, you got like Riviera, Quail Hollow, Seaside. I'm also looking at TPC Summerlin, since it's in Vegas, and PGA West, the stadium course, is some of the comps. But we really don't know how it's going to play. I'm excited to see it. The course looks awesome. What about you?
Yeah, I think, those easier courses are probably better comps like Quail Hollow and Riviera. There's no way it's going to play as hard as those courses do.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked. I mean, I'd be shocked that we've been wrong before, but you look at the scorecard. The first hole is a 380-yard par four, but it's all downhill and supposedly is drivable. Which at a lot of elevation, 380 these days, yeah, probably is drivable for the bigger hitters. The second hole is a sub 200-yard par three. The third hole is a reachable par five. Fourth and fifth holes are relatively short par fours. Sixth hole is another par five, and number seven is a 138-yard par three. So, there were some chatter on Twitter yesterday about somebody possibly going 7 under through the first 7 holes, especially if you make an eagle on one of the par fives. So I do think particularly that front nine is going to play a lot easier. The back nine starts with 2 very long holes, a 500+ yard par four and a 235-yard par three. So I do think getting off to a good start on the front nine for those, on the days where I got to see if they're not splitting tees. So everybody's starting on the front nine. So getting off to a good start is definitely going to be imperative on this course. I think you'll see the front nine play a bit easier. Front nine's about 150 yards shorter. So yeah, I mean, I think we'll see good scoring, provided that the weather holds up. I mean, I guess today it was really cold out in Vegas, so some snow in the mountains, but I think it'll play pretty easy.
Yeah, I do too. And no cut. Are you changing your strategy at all?
I mean, I always take a few more chances on some lower end guys. You can take some punt plays just because everybody's getting 4 rounds. I mean, I don't think you need to go crazy with any of the guys that like 6K flat, but down into the 6Ks, I think you can, and that just gives you more access to the top end. But relatively speaking, with a stronger field and a no cut event, it seems like the salary cap is pretty loose this week.
Yeah, the stars and scrubs method definitely seems to make sense, but whenever I try it, I pick some bad scrubs and then have to have 4 rounds of terrible golf instead of just 2. So that ends up hurting my lineups. And anytime the field is really stacked like this, it just seems like the mid-range get a lot of good values in terms of guys like Paul Casey, those types that are usually in the 10Ks and weaker fields. So I don't mind the balanced approach. Don't mind the stars and scrubs approach. I don't think there's a strong take one way or another. I know a lot of people want to box these into a certain strategy, but I haven't been able to figure it out just yet.
Are you just kind of in terms of golfers then? You leaning on ball strikers? You leaning on scorers? You leaning on bombers? How you attacking it?
I think I'm just looking at all around. I kind of have an equal weight to my stats, just with a big weight to strokes gained approach and birdie making. Whether they do that with bombing off the tee or good around the green, whatever it may be. Just mainly birdie making and strong iron play.
All right, let's go ahead and dig in. We got our usual 6 golfers above 10K this week. I was kind of interested to see how they would price it with, maybe some of the top names kind of struggling. So we haven't seen Spieth yet in the fall swing. Colin Morikawa is a member here, so you see a lot of quotes from him. You see that narrative flying around. But DJ and Thomas, Morikawa, Schauffele, Spieth, and McIlroy. Almost all these top end guys are coming off the Ryder Cup, so you get some people that may want to put those Ryder Cup narratives in there. How they played at the Ryder Cup, but how you handicap in the top, I think it's pretty wide open.
Yeah, pretty wide open. A lot of question marks for me. I mean, DJ's got back-to-back top 10s, but he gained 16 strokes putting in those 2 events. The ball striking hasn't been good for a few months now. You have Jordan Spieth, who, I mean, he's lost 9 strokes tee to green in his last 3 starts. So guys that just aren't hitting the ball well, at least not compared to what they usually do. Kind of the same thing for Rory McIlroy. He's lost on approach in 3 straight. So I mean, it has been a few weeks since they've teed it up for sure, but I have question marks on all 3 of those guys. I love Xander. He isn't a member here, but he does live in Vegas, so we should be familiar with, playing at elevation, desert golf. I'm sure he's seen the course before, and he's the king of no cuts. So I like Xander. I like JT, and then just for the narrative, I think you got to take some shares of Colin Morikawa. Talked today about how good he feels, coming off the Ryder Cup. He feels rested. And he obviously has the home course knowledge. We've seen that, backfire with a lot of guys over the years. Ryan Palmer comes to mind, the track in Texas. But so I don't think it hurts to be a member here. So if I'm going 3 of the 10K guys, I'll take Xander, Morikawa, and JT.
Yeah, hard to ignore Morikawa. I like Morikawa and Xander. That is kind of my top two. I think you can debate the rest. Certainly at their prices. I mean, I like DJ, but and I like JT, but I mean, they are more expensive as well. But yeah, I think Morikawa and Shoffley definitely the top two for me. So they will sit atop my exposure for the 10K and up range. What are you doing with Spieth here? Anything? I mean, it's just it's hard to say. We just haven't seen him that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's generous off the tee is what we're hearing, but I mean, generous off the tee doesn't really help speed sometimes because he can be, 40 yards offline. And if he misses the rough and the fairway completely, he's going to be playing out of some cactuses. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not playing speed, especially at this price point. If he was, 9K, I'd maybe take a few shares of him.
You know me on Spieth. I don't need to be sold on not playing him. I am probably off him this week as well. The 9K range, probably my biggest fault over the past 4 or 5 months was going away from Sam Burns after he won. And we had the week I hit him on outright on scores and odds and won a GPP with him. And then, I just kind of stopped playing him for a while. The price started going up and he just keeps on playing well. He won the Sanderson Farms a few weeks back, 14th last week, faded a bit on Sunday, but still 22 birdies for the week. So we just got to get used to seeing his name up there in the 9Ks. I mean, he's earned that spot, even though it looks a little bit out of place to see him in there with Hovland and Kepka and Finau and Sungjae. So 9K range still pretty loaded. You mentioned we probably, don't have to go away from Sungjae after a win. Who's your favorite couple guys in there?
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Burns because I was with our editor, Scott, the night before lineup stock, and he said, why don't we ever play Burns? He just crushes every week. And I was like, nah, we can't play him. And he grinds out another great finish. And if you look at his stats, I mean, very good off the tee, very good on approach. We know he's a great putter. So, yeah, like you said, we just got to get used to him being up here, playing some great golf. So I don't mind it. It's hard for me not to go up to Hovland in that same price range. Just so good, might be the best ball striker, right there with Morikawa. If you can include off the tee, he might be better than Morikawa. With him, it's just all to the short game, but I don't mind taking a chance on him.
He lost 9 strokes around the green last week. 9.
Yeah. Huh.
I've never seen anything. I mean, his ball striking was great. He was like at the top. He was, I don't have it in front of me right now, but ballparking like second or third in tee to green, and he finished in the 40s. And I was like, how did that happen? Minus 9 strokes around the green. I mean, that's an anomaly unless he's got the chipping yips, but
yeah,
it's just,
I mean, that's Grillo every week.
play both together.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not too worried about it. If the course is as easy as we think, and everyone's going to be hitting 80% of greens, I think that'll help him because he'll be a lot closer to the flag than everyone else. Don't know what to do with Brooks. I always like Finau anytime we get him out west. He's obviously from Utah, so plays in elevation quite a bit. I like Sungjae as a sleeper. Everyone just naturally avoids the guy coming off of a win. I talked about that at the start of the show. He had a third place finish after his win at the Honda the very next week at the API. And then love Louis. If he would have putted a little bit better last week, he would have had, a really nice outing. I think he gained 6 strokes ball striking. I think he was top 5 in putting, strokes gained putting last year on the PGA Tour, and he's lost putting 3 in a row. So I think he got some positive regression coming there. And he's just a guy that you can count on. I know we don't like him in Birdie Fest as much, but if this does end up playing a little bit harder, or I still think he can go out and shoot 20 under. So yeah, I like Louis, I like Hovland, and then I'll probably mix in some Finau and Burns.
Yeah, I like Hovland as well. I mean, I'm not super worried about the around the green, the terrible numbers last week, unless they continue to be like that bad on a recurring basis. We know that's his weakness, but he can overcome that with the ball striking as long as he's not, last in the field every week. So the other guy in the 9Ks, and I like Sungjae as well. The other guy that I almost never play, I haven't played him. You can probably count it on one hand over the last 12 months how many times I've played Cameron Smith. I think I'm going to buck that trend this week too. I mean, he's got this is the type of event where he'll just go out and he'll make some hero chips and throw in some birdies. And I think he was third on tour in birdie or better last year behind only Bryson and John Rahm. So never play Cam Smith. I'm going to try to with a new season put that bias aside. So Cam Smith at 9,200. He'll be in some of my GPP lineups this week. Don't mind the Louis call as well. Abraham Answer was a big bust last week for a lot of people. I mean, he missed the cut by like 7 strokes. He was terrible for 2-round shot over par on that course that played like 5 under on average for the first 2 days. So Scheffler, another guy that burned a lot of people last week. So Answer or Scheffler, you going back to the well on either guy this week?
I did play Scheffler, even though I didn't love him last week. He just kind of fit the lineup I liked. So I'll go back to him. Anytime you get burned, you just feel obligated to go back. Plus, we've seen how well he plays in WGC events. I know this isn't going to be a hard course, but the Stack Fields is typically when he plays his best. And then what about Brooks? I mean, he's been in Vegas a while. I heard he went to the Wilder fight. So who knows what the state of his game is. But I'm kind of on the boat. Just don't play him until the majors. It'll burn you, once or twice a year.
Yeah. I don't have a ton of interest. Like I wouldn't, it's a no cut event. If you're playing him in GPPs, obviously we know the risk. I get the logic behind it, but I don't play him a whole lot. And I'm just not sold on him outside of a major when he's not, 100% healthy. So especially since everybody's getting 4 rounds, like I think he carries the big risk of maybe deciding to pack it in if, the body starts barking or something.
Yep, I agree.
All right, that takes us through the 9K range. Before we move on, just a couple of things here. Don't forget, you can sign up for Prize Picks, prizepicks.com, or download their app. Plenty of good stuff going on there. One of our guys, Will Priester, always putting out the Prize Picks stuff on Twitter, so you can check him out. He gives a lot of good picks for NFL, but you can do golf over there as well. Noto and I have thrown out some picks on this show quite a few times. So prizepicks.com or download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code Grinders with your first deposit. Get 100% bonus up to $100. Again, promo code Grinders at Prize Picks. And also encourage you to sign up for Rotogrinders Premium. If you are not already a premium subscriber, you can click the link in the description, or our producer Steve will drop it in the chat. Get $10 off your first month of either a single sport premium package or the combo package, which includes pretty much everything except NASCAR and is loaded right now with all the sports going on. Basketball's coming back next week. And Noto, I know that means things are about to get a lot busier for you as well.
Is it really next week?
It's next week. It's a week from today. Sorry about that.
All right. And my little one has his fall break all next week, so he's going to be on with me. So that'll be fun.
Well, there's only a couple games the first night, so we'll ease into it. But yeah, it's next week already. With the extra off days in the schedule, it used to start around Halloween, but now we got to start around the 19th, so a couple extra weeks.
Wasn't there talk of pushing back the start, not making it earlier?
Yeah, well, it's the next week, so I don't know what they decided to do, but it's next Tuesday already. And if you're a hockey person, NHL getting kicked off tonight, Tuesday night as we're taping the show. So check out Rotogrinders Premium. We'll have you covered for all the sports. If you don't have time to do all the research on your own, we'll help you along the way. All right, let's dig into this 8K range here. A little bit of a kind of I'd say maybe a break in the field where it goes from the guys with pretty significant win equity and drops off at least a bit here in the 8Ks. Harris English miscut last week. Webb Simpson miscut last week. Jason Kokrak miscut last week. Other guys, Paul Casey miscut last week. I'm sure there's more in here. Patrick Reed hasn't been playing all that well lately. Got left off the Ryder Cup team. So, this 8K range, a few guys in here have been struggling. I guess Leishman with the top 5 last week, but this range is a little less exciting for me, but who you like in here?
Yeah, I agree for the most part. And you can throw Tommy Fleetwood in there. If you look at his numbers in Europe, amazing. He's like top 20 machine. He comes over here. He finishes like T45 as his ceiling. So until that changes, I'll be off of Tommy, probably going to be off of the English. Webb rates out well for me, but I do a lot of longer term stuff. And he does have a really good track record in events where you don't have a cut. So maybe I'll go back to some Webb. I like Paul Casey quite a bit. He's just one of those guys that gains strokes on approach every single week. He's 16 straight events gaining strokes on approach. And with that being, my favorite stat to look at, got to go back to Paul Casey. I like Shane Lowry quite a bit. He's quietly been playing some really good golf. He's gained at least 1 stroke on approach in 10 straight. He's been a top 25 machine. So I think it's certainly a good week for Shane Lowry. I like Terrell Hatton. If you look at his numbers, just pull up, his game log. It looks like he missed 3 of his last 4 cuts, but just came off a T2 over in Europe at the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship. Pretty strong field over there. And if you look at his no-cut results, it's pretty crazy. He's actually better than Xander. The only person he hasn't gained more strokes per round than in no-cut events is Justin Thomas. So guy that loves WGCs, guy that loves, the Asian swing. So, yeah, I like Hatton quite a bit.
Yeah, I think Hatton's a good call. Jason Kokrak is probably my favorite tournament play in here. Again, missed the cut last week, so you're going to see people hop off, but he missed it on the number, shot 4 under, so I'm not super concerned about him. We saw him kind of pop last year in some of these types of events, had a strong year.
Didn't he win this?
This exact tournament?
I think he did.
Last year?
Yeah, his Shadow Creek.
For some reason, I don't remember that, and I didn't bother to look because it's on a different course. Now I'm trying to find it, and I'm not having any luck. Let's see. He did. I'll be darned. I had no recollection of that. I completely blocked that tournament from my memory. Well,
is that good or bad?
I don't know. Different course. If it was on the same course, the narrative, you can't do it again. But I don't know. It feels like the defending champion, like responsibilities and the grind of kind of doing that on a different course, and just feels like it doesn't apply. So when I did my research, I liked him. I'm not going to let this sway me away, even though it usually would. So he did win last year. Schauffele second, Hatton and Russell Henley tied for third, for what it's worth.
What about Adam Scott? Finally showing some life with the irons.
Yeah, I don't mind it in GPPs. It played pretty well last week, and didn't putt horribly. So yeah, at 8,100, I think that's reasonable, especially since I don't love this range a whole lot. Like, I'd probably play Scott over Casey right now, I think.
Yeah, I don't blame you. For me, I just always play Casey, so it's not really.
It's not even a conversation. That's just what it is, right?
That's how it works.
Any interest in Reed?
I mean, his numbers in the 2 events since having pneumonia are like dead last and close to dead last. So can't play him until I see something.
But I'm not playing him, so that means that's
and I'm not playing him.
Somebody's going to win all the money with him this week. That's kind of what that boils down to, I guess. But yeah, I'm out on Reed as well. It just seems like the risk outweighs the reward at this point. And I think he's like 50-1. So just bet him outright if you're interested in Reed. If you think he's just going to pop all of a sudden again, 50-1 is not a bad number for him. So anything else on the 8Ks that you want to bring up?
Bill in the chat says Casey is my new Harmon. Yeah, Casey's been my Harmon for many years, but yeah, that's funny. Harmon's kind of fallen off a bit lately, so we'll see if he can rediscover the magic here. All right, let's move into the 7K range. We start to get a little bit into the values, but we got guys like Rose and Na and Homa, Neiman and Garcia. So still, you see the depth of this field a little bit in the 7Ks. Aaron Wise has been playing pretty well at 7,400. Maybe finally starting to put it all together. 8th place finish last week, so he'll be getting some ownership. Neiman at that salary will certainly get some ownership as well. Where are you looking in the 7Ks? So at the very bottom, I like Tringali quite a bit, a guy that for the longest time was struggling with his driver, finally figured out the last 2 weeks. He's good with the approach. He's got a really good short game. I think 7K is far too cheap for him. Moving up a little bit, I like Russell Henley. So he played really well here last year, not here, but in Vegas at Shadow Creek, and he's got a really good track record at Shriners. So I think the reason he plays well in Vegas, he's very religious guy, and he's not out there partying with everyone else. So I think that's a big edge when he comes to Vegas. So I like Russell Henley at 7,100. Hoffman lives in Vegas. I think he makes some sense, a guy that can gain strokes with the irons as well. Taylor Gooch has been playing pretty well, back-to-back top 11s for him. I always like Sergio in these things. He just seems to play well in these really stacked fields outside of majors. For whatever reason, his major record has gotten real bad since he won the Masters. But WGC's short fields, he's been playing well. And then I don't know. What are we doing with Matt McNeely? I mean, his ownership's going to be 10% higher just because he's a member here.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for that narrative too. And I think it would be even higher if he didn't miss the cut last week. He was another guy that missed the cut on the number, which I think, that's interesting if it does serve to lower his ownership just a little bit. But I don't know, based on the comments that Morikawa has about the greens and the runoff areas, I think it is valuable for guys that have played this course a significant number of times. So
He
I
did
will.
say McNeely shot a 61 here too.
Yeah, I mean that's part of what's fueling somebody's going to go 7 under the first 7 holes kind of
Yeah.
narrative. But I can't let him burn me at that salary, so I'm on him.
Over under the 10% projection we have him at right now.
Way over that.
Yeah.
We'll bump that up. I think in the 17 is what I'll say. That'll be my official over under. We'll see. Still probably playing him, but it's interesting because at that price, like, people play Varner, people play Wise, people play Neiman and Sergio, so there's some options in there. Hoffman's been pretty highly owned lately. Henley,
baby swag for Varner. He's got HV4.
That's right. HV4.
Yeah.
I saw the post is, and he's played pretty well. A couple events in the fall swing too, a couple top 20s. So that'll help buy some diapers.
Yeah, for sure. What about Kevin Na? He's a guy that just always or never in your MMA pool, right?
Yeah, it really is. And I think this is the type of event where maybe you can play him because, more so than a lot of other guys priced in the 7Ks, he does win often. So I'm probably not on him just because there's plenty of other options in that range, but I don't know. I'm usually a bit lower on him than most. And I played him a few weeks back when he missed the cut. Just not that excited about him right now.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. I remember.
Yes, that was the week I played him. First week I played him in a long time.
Don't worry, we all have bad plays. I had plenty last week.
Not playing Tringali either after that 7 under or 7 over front 9 on Sunday. He's quarantined for me, at least for this week, even though he's 7K. 7. I've never seen a 9 holes on a course like that as bad as Tringali's were on Sunday. It was awful.
I saw the score, but I didn't see the stats. Was he putting bad? Was he?
Everything was bad. Like, he was hitting them from 90 yards in the fairway, and he was hitting the bunkers, and then he hit from the bunker and he did it to like 50 feet, and then he 3-putt. Like, it was horrible. It was 3 bogeys, 2 double bogeys, and 4 pars. I think was the front 9. I don't know. It was awful. And then he shot 6 under on the back. So. Redeemed himself a little bit, but he's still quarantined for me this week. Punishment. I'm sure he's very upset about it. All right. Anything else kind of at 7K? Otherwise, you can start going to some of your favorite values before we get out of here.
What about Jason Day?
No.
0. He hasn't played since August.
I haven't played him since like 3 Augusts ago, and I can't remember the last time that one's burned me. So
his back is going to be so rested.
That could be a bad thing, though. He could be really sore after playing that first competitive run. You've got a little thing for Jason Day, but I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't work out ever, but I still have it.
So are you playing him some this week then?
I haven't decided if I'm doing like 1 lineup, 5 lineups, 100 lineups. If I do 100, I'll definitely include him in there.
All right. Let's see. Any baseball fans that are watching live? Freddie Freeman just homered off Josh Hader to potentially send the Braves on to the championship series. They got to get 3 outs yet, but Freeman off Hader. Interesting lefty bomb there for the Braves. Let's see. Let's go into the 6Ks here. So Poulter graded out as like the best value play last week. Was yet another guy that missed the cut as a popular play. You can see why that 66 percentage was so low last week. But even in the 6Ks, I mean, we've got Keegan, we've got Streelman, we've got Grillo, we've got your boy Harmon in here. Ricky Fowler's down to 6,400, which is funny. So there's some plays down here. You got a favorite or two?
I like Johnny Vegas. Vegas in Vegas. He's a bomber off the tee, and he's finally gaining strokes on approach. I think it's 7 straight tournaments. And I think he's 20th in this field in birdie or better percentage over the last 75 rounds. So I think he makes a lot of sense. He's going to be popular. But he's the one kind of punt play that I feel comfortable about. I think Keegan makes some sense too. A guy that just gains a ton of strokes, ball striking. You kind of take your chances with his putting. I won't be playing Emiliano Grillo. So he's had one top 35 in his last 10 starts, and he gains a ton of strokes ball striking. He's just a guy that, I mean, it's crazy how many strokes he loses consistently on and around the greens. I think the only one that beats him is Kyle Stanley. Have you seen Stanley's game log? He's not in this field, but
it's bad.
It's like gain 3 strokes ball striking and still miss the cut every week because he loses so many on the greens. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have some Harmon. That's about it. I don't love that many plays.
Was that you kind of cut out for? Was that a yes, you're playing Grillo, or no, you're not playing him?
I'm not, because even when he ball strikes it well, he's got like no upside because of his short game. So I can't do it. I'd rather play Keegan. He at least like randomly, has a decent week with the short game.
I wrote Grillo up this week, so I hope it's the week where maybe it comes together. Just because I don't love a lot down there either. And it's just that one week, like you hope it happens with the putter, and then it never does. Like most of the bad putters at least give you hope occasionally, and he never does. But you just think that one week maybe, and maybe it happens with the no cut event. So at least he's getting 4 rounds if it like doesn't happen. I don't know. Twisted logic, I guess, I suppose, but
I do that a lot, so don't worry.
And this is the week. We'll see. It's probably not, but I'll play some Grillo at 6,700. Are we all off Fowler now? Is that ship sailed?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm rooting for him, but I can't put any more of my dollars behind him.
Yeah, I just it's sad that it's gone downhill so fast, but don't mind the Vegas call at 6,300. I think he's in play. Maybe Ortiz at 6,200, but that's about where it ends. You don't need to play any of the guys really at 6K. You can get plenty of decent plays in the higher 6s or the 7s to round out your rosters. So with that, we're through the limited field here with only 78 golfers. And again, there's no cut this week. So barring a withdraw, everybody will get 4 rounds of golf. And if you got burned by not getting 4, 5, 6 of 6 the last couple weeks, you probably welcome the change, like Noto mentioned at the beginning of the show. So anything else you want to pass along before we duck out?
No, don't be afraid to leave a little money on the table this week. It's going to be one of those weeks where you're going to have a lot of duplicated lineups in these large field tournaments. And if you have any questions, we're always around, to answer them, whether it's on our articles or, DM, whatever it may be. So good luck this week, everybody.
All right. So with that, we'll get out of here. For Noto and our producer, Steve, I am Justin. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good luck. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you back here next Tuesday. Take care.